You know, every series at the end of the day wants to be peak, but they rarely ask the question, should they be peak? It is undeniable that Vending Machine Isekai is in fact peak fiction, but being peak is a big responsibility. It comes with a lot of power, and you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility. And the question today is, Vending Machine Isekai, which is unquestionably peak, can it handle the responsibility of being such? That is what me and my co-host Neon Manta are here today to find out.
I will say this off the bat. I have about half as many notes as I did for the first episode as I do for the second episode.
Well, yeah, that's for two reasons. First of all, you know, podcasts usually go this way. You talk about the first episode, and the series is, it's introducing all of the basic mechanics, the things to look out for, and so there's, by its very nature, a lot more to say. But the second reason is that, the series kind of went about where I expected it to, and it became a very basic, sort of typical adventure isekai show. It's like better than usual for this genre, but that is not a high bar to clear.
Yeah, no, like again compared to all other anime in like a given season, this would be the point where I would have dropped the show. But compared to most isekai, like that just come out in a given year or a given season, uh, this is okay.
I mean, see, I would still call this a breath of fresh air for the isekai genre. The issue is that anything is a breath of fresh air for the isekai
Yeah,
genre.
this is like comparing one cigarette to like inhaling like a thousand like cubic metric volume meters or whatever of pure diesel exhaust. It's like
Yeah,
deep
I mean,
throating
I'm
a
sure
diesel pipe.
Yeah, okay, I just got this great metaphor in my head. An isekai fan is like a chain smoker. If you're just taking one puff of the vape, it feels like you're inhaling nothing but pure oxygen.
Okay, I need
But
to
it's
I need to bully you immediately for comparing vaping to chain smoking, you fucking loser.
it's not the metaphor went over your head, I feel.
No, you don't. Vaping is not nowhere close to chain smoking.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point of the metaphor.
It's so far removed. It has like it's like what would someone who doesn't know anything about smoking thinks a chain smoker is.
That's not what a chain smoker is. That's what I was getting at.
I think you maybe need to have workshopped it a little then.
Okay. I mean, hey, vaping still isn't healthy for you. That was the point I was getting at, but it's way better than how the realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. Comparatively, it's much better.
Yes, I mean at least having a small modicum of something resembling fun with this show, as opposed to Realist Hero, which will never
Well,
fail to
I
kick in the
wasn't.
nuts.
I was about to say I wasn't bored, but then I was remembering near the beginning of the episode. Like once they start going down the adventure and they're taking on the frogs, and it's like, hey, it's a generic isekai fight. I could feel myself tapping out just the tiniest bit. The second half of the episode does improve, but it has its own host of problems that seem like nitpicks, but that when you put them all together, really, I think put a damper on what should have been a way better scene than it was. But I'm talking very broad strokes here. Let's just tunnel down to the meat of it. This is okay, so Lamis and Boxo are here going on a good old isekai adventure. There's a bunch of frogs nearby, and this dude is basically, and I think he's like a bear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's a bear.
Director Bear. He is the director of the Hunters Guild, of the Hunter x Hunter Association.
And he's just like, "Aight, broskies, we need your food. Well, we need to be eating good on this isekai adventure here." And so they take Lamis and Boxo along, and we get what was pretty much set in stone to happen from the very beginning of this show of a bunch of people just eating Boxo's food and being like, "Damn, that's good eating." And it's a lot of those scenes, which I hope we're beginning to get over. I know we're not. I mean I have too much genre awareness to know
Nah,
that like
it's
we're
episode 2
definitely
and we're
getting more of
already
these.
like hitting the repeat button on, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you watched people react to eating like, cup noodles and ramen a second time?
Yeah, and that was kind of a thing with campfire cooking too, where it's like there is a certain although to be fair, campfire cooking was a lot comfier and sold that
Yeah, it was
atmosphere
comfy, and
better.
I think they changed up the recipe every now and then, at
Yeah.
least from what I
So
remember.
like yeah, they change up the recipe, and the series is like built around that more specifically and with more intent, so it felt more natural. And even then, I like by episode 3, I was like, maybe I could deal with not this, but for this show, it's like it's a lot less cozy feeling. It's a lot less the point. Although in the OP, there's the one shot of like near the beginning. There's Boxo and there's Lamis, and then there's a bunch of other people, like all the rest of the main characters. Then a bunch of bystanders and ordinary people, and so clearly a thematic component, if you can call it that, of this show is bringing people together via the power of food. But I'm not really sold on it yet. No.
Now it's the most basic bitch ass thing. It's just, oh wow, this fantasy person who's used to eating fucking raw ass potatoes and vegetables and basic ass stews gets to eat a cup noodle and gets to drink a sports drink from a fancy plastic bottle. They're like, oh,
You want to know what the issue is? Because in campfire cooking, it would be like you're serving up this cool cuisine. You get to see the cooking scene. You get to see how the dish is made, and it's like this whole process, so that when you finally get to you see the characters eat it. No, like the meat in the food was like the dog would kill some monsters, and then he'd be like, "Yo, here's some meat. Make me some good eats, bro." And there was like a process to obtain the ingredients. Here, Boxo just like kind of shits out food, and that's the end of it. There's no process. There's no like build up and payoff. It just kind of happens. So my thought is get these scenes out of the way as quickly as possible. Just stop having them. Like I get the point. People like the food. You do not need to remind me that they like the food.
Now
I get it already.
there is an interesting curveball that the show threw at us both in the opening and in this episode, where Boxo he is not limited to just the shackles, the confines of the vending machine race. He can change form into various types of m- m- um money based or monetary currency based entertainment or novelty boxes. He can in the opening we can see him turn into a locker or a jukebox. And in this episode, he turns into a Mentos dispenser, which I guess is a thing in Japan that dispenses exclusively Mentos.
Maybe it's just a candy dispenser, but like the only item he has on the menu is the Mentos in order to defeat the monster. I will say it was a little bit. I was wondering. I mean, the point is obviously to make it a surprise, but I'm just wondering why that wasn't established earlier.
I think it's
Why he
just
didn't
the
go like,
author was like,
this is my
huh, maybe
ability.
maybe just having him be a vending machine wouldn't be the most exciting thing for to carry an entire series of novels with. What's the best way I could change it up? Oh, you know how shonen characters can like power up into different forms and with different abilities. I'll just give them that.
You want to know what would be so cool? Is if there were like magical items in the world. And granted, maybe the show will end up doing this, but like magical items in the world that give him like a special kind of points that he discovers after a certain point. That, by using these points, he can upgrade and get the ability to change into entirely different kinds of machines. That would incentivize exploration and make, the viewer feel like the characters are making
You
progress in the world.
you're making good points, Crunchy, but what if he just had enough points and could do it whenever the plot dictated so? When it
Well,
was
see,
convenient.
this points limitation is so I'm realizing this now. It's utter bullshit. It's not even a limitation
That
because here's the
I feel
thing.
like he's just kind of
Everyone
set for life now because he's
yeah.
popular in the village. Presumably, they've dumped like so much money into him, and he's not once since he has come to the village has he been like, oh no, I'm kind of hurting for a squirting on my point total or my point reserves. It seems like that's just done and dealt with.
I mean, there is a point where, he changes into the Mentos machine and then he's like, "Wait, oh, this is a lot of points. Oh, I don't want to use all those points." But I'm not really sold on the idea that he is like that like I don't feel as if that's an actual drain on his points. This bro was putting up a barrier all night in the first episode, presumably, or something like that. And so it's like, well, how much of a limitation is this really? It feels more like the facade of a limitation than an actual limitation.
I agree.
And it's not working. Like, what if the people in the world I'm imagining a funnier and probably better version of this show where everyone just hates vending machines. Everyone just hates all the food because they're like used to I don't know, like a magical food or something. You need the food infused with mana, and so he has to like go on this quest in order to survive of finding like people other than Lamis who like his food. Oh no, that sounds like a more fun series
Or
to
like
me. Everyone just hates
he has
it.
to go to like
Someone
different.
thinks the food is so disgusting they like beat him up and he has to spend more points on fixing himself.
Like here a cool idea the building off of what you're saying, like what if we had to travel the land and find different kinds of merchants who could like mass produce special kinds of goods, maybe not even necessarily food and and drinks, but special goods that could be sold from a vending type of machine, kind of like maybe like a toy capsule machine, or he could sell like little trinkets and whatnot.
And we're listing off a bunch of stuff, and maybe some of this like upgrade tree sort of things will happen eventually. I imagine he will talk after a certain point and get some kind of abilities, but it's like I'd like for it to be introduced sooner rather than later, of being like, hey guys, here's all the things that I can get, but I need to work for it. Whereas right now, the impression that
Y-
we have
you're
is he's
you're
set for life.
You're reminding me of what is so great about a show like Doctor Stone, where we'll have a goal, like we'll have one big overarching goal for the arc. It's like, okay, oh, we need to make this thing. We need to make a light bulb, or we have to make this special medicine for this sick girl. And in order to do so, we need to like they lay out like this flow chart, this step by step plan of like, okay, in order to get this for the medicine, we need to acquire this, and in order to even get that, we need to do this little sub plan here. And it's like this step by step process of slowly gathering the ingredients, excuse me, the ingredients and the parts necessary to build and synthesize and create all of these different things that not only benefit the towards the overarching goal of acquiring, the medicine or whatever, but they also have all these different side benefits that lend to their cause of, building the science kingdom. Here, there's nothing like that. Like, how awesome would it be if Box was like, okay, there's this one form and like this one option in my skill tree that I feel like if I were to acquire, it would like increase revenue out the fucking wazoo. Stocks would be going to the moon. Vending machine isekai to the moon. But fucking crypto. But now in order to do so, I have to spend a shit ton of points. So I gotta figure out, what best I can do to maximize profits now, so I can feel like I can put enough points into this upgrade to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, right now is not anything like that, and I'd love it if he could just like travel the land and get in like different types of foods and different kinds of drinks. like the ability to, further increase his stocks or whatever. Maybe certain forms can take more energy to be in, and it can be like an actual threat. Maybe he gets to the point where he's almost lost enough points where he's like about to shut off. He gets down to one measly point, and it's like, quick, everyone, give me money. But yeah, the sooner we get these elements, the better. But my big fear is that we'll never get these elements. That instead, it'll always
It's
just be,
generic
well,
isekai a
except for
go
like,
go.
yeah. I mean, hey, that's what it seems like it'll be, and that's what we were all saying in the first episode. I hope it's not the case because the first episode was genuinely like a pretty good time. I enjoyed my time with it. And this isn't boring. It's not terrible. It's just a little uninteresting and like I wouldn't say I have to force myself through it just yet, but if it continues at this quality, I just get the sinking feeling that by episode 6 I will be kind of forcing myself to get up every week and watch another episode of peak vending machine isekai.
Yeah, if the drop for if the quality of the episodes continue like at this steady decline of interest, going from the somewhat eyebrow raising first episode down to this very mediocre, nothing special second episode, and like it maintains this downward decline every single episode. By the time we do hit like episode 4, around something around there, I will be like, is it truly peak, or have we been led astray by the by hype culture?
Yeah, all the hype around vending machine isekai. Nothing else like it. But you want to know what makes you feel like there's nothing that makes you feel like you're in a generic isekai more than you're fighting a bunch of bog standard frogs and like 80% of the fight is just a slideshow.
Yeah, exactly what I figured would be the case for this kind of show. The action scenes are as basic as they get. There's barely any animation. I at first I thought they were gonna be like total pussies and skimp out on the blood. Because in the first encounter that they have with the frogs, I don't think there's any blood at all. The worst I saw was like a frog did get impaled with a spear, and we do see it go through the frog, but there's no blood. It just it gets stabbed, no bleeding whatsoever. But then in the next fight, we do see bleeding and not like gory dismemberment, but there's definitely uh more than you'd think would be the case for a show where the main character and mascot is like just a fucking vending machine with eyes.
I mean, it's not even necessarily the blood per se that I care about. It's more so just it's such a wet fart of a tensionless fight, and I know it's like not supposed to be this big grand spectacle. We're not at any important high stakes yet, but I would have liked for it to feel like it had some weight, that there was some reason to pay attention, but it felt like I'm watching this thing in spite of the fact that there is no reason to, that there is nothing being progressed, nothing ventured, nothing gained, sort of thing. Just kind of, it's a fight, and in that regard, the second half of the episode is much better because that fight at least felt like it had more of a purpose. But right now, we're just sort of going up against frog fiends. There is some soul in the fight, though. The animation isn't great, but there's this one bit where like Boxo is he gets the ability to like have a furthered range of view. He's on the lookout for Lamis, and he says like this one thing. I forget exactly what it is, but Lamis is like, okay, say this thing every time there's an enemy behind me,
I think he
and
says
then
something like you might get a bonus item.
yeah, I think it was that you might get a bonus item. And so, Lamis tells him to say that, and then, like, the chief compliments her. And she's like, ah, ha, ha, that's so great. And then Box is like, you just got a bonus item. Ah, yeah, Box, so you don't need to stack on the praise. She immediately forgets that she just told him that means that there's an enemy behind her.
Yeah, it's
I
a little
thought that was
sprinkle of charm. And we figured out the solution to Lammis's can't hit shit problem by using Boxo's weight as a balance. She can maintain her steadiness and punch people without missing wildly. Okay.
You want to know? You just said that, and I just got what would have made this episode literally like 10 times better. Is if we established. Okay, so another big problem with this show. I'm gonna go on this tangent for a while. Bear with me. But a big problem with this show right now is that Lammis and Boxo are boring characters. Lammis has like kind of a fun personality, but it's all surface level right now. There is not really like, why do I partake in this energetic girl as opposed to any other energetic girl? Why do I want to watch this vending machine for any reason other than that he is a vending machine? I have not been sold on anything like that so far. But you want to know what would have made Lammis's character in this episode absolutely incredible? Is if like okay, so it's made a point of that she can't hit for shit. What if, because she can carry things so easily, it's like almost like everything around her is too light and she doesn't really know how to interact with it or whatever. Maybe like she got these abilities after a certain point in life or something like that. What if it was something like that where everything like she everything's like, I don't know, disproportionate to her strength. And so that's part of why, everything's so light. So it's almost like you're taking like a bendy straw and trying to hit someone with it or something like that, or like a piece of straw. And maybe that could be affecting her ability to hit things, and maybe, I'm not sure how Boxa would help with that per se, but I don't know. I got that idea and I thought it was interesting.
I'm waiting for the time where she ties Boxo to the end of a rope and starts swinging him like a giant flail.
That would be that would be hilarious.
Or just does
that would be the solution to the problem. Boxo's just the right weight for her.
Or just comically pick Boxo up and just like bash people over the head with him.
That would be raw.
You know that one?
Yeah, I want that version of the show.
This just popped in my head for some reason, and if you have the ability to, it would make for hilarious edit to put in. You know the one regular show episode where the video game comes to life and starts beating the shit out of everyone, and they have to beat it up with furniture?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
You know that one shot where the hammer looks up and he sees Skips like beating him over the head with a fridge from like in a POV shot? Paste
make that Boxo.
Yeah, paste Lammis's face over Skips, and then it's just like, and the goblin over the hammer. Just have go boosh 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 with the fridge.
If I remember to and I'm not too lazy, I will try and do that here. 2422. Got the timestamp written down.
Yeah, there's also a part where Lammis says Boxo and I will join the battle, and I'm like, oh, we got to make that a Smash thing.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be doing that.
Oh, I don't know if I won't be able to have time for that because I have to go to work like immediately after this episode's over.
And I need to do the V2 video, so
I guess we can only do one of them.
It's questionable.
We'll do the regular show thing.
There we go. But yeah, they take on the frog people. It's not that engaging, honestly. It's like very bog standard, not at all captivating. But then, as it turns out, there's this thing called the Frog King. And the Frog King, this like powerful frog, because there's more frogs than there should be. They're afraid that it's reawakened. So something that I did really like is that it's not Boxo and Lammis seeking out the Frog King. It was like, okay, you guys stay here and tend for the wounded. I'm like, yes, okay, good. We're not being like, because what would usually happen in Isekai is, oh my god, you're just so overpowered, man. Bro, we need you to help fight the Frog King. We're just useless without you. Please, come with us. You need to take on this powerful foe. I like the idea of a fantasy world where things are much more powerful than our protagonists, where there are threats that they cannot take on. And so, I liked that. And granted, they do end up meeting the Frog King, but even then, like they don't beat it per se. They like, well, in a way,
Well,
the
the
intention
goal
was
at
to buy enough
first,
time.
yeah, the goal at first is to escape because they're mostly a camp of the wounded, and Lamus is like, oh shit, the fucking pig, the boars or whatever that pull the carts won't pull them, but we gotta get out of here, so I'll pull the cart, I'll be the pig, and starts pulling, but she won't be fast enough to get away from the frog in time, so Boxo, with his quick thinking, is like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I will dispense my new Coca-Cola sodas, and I will unlock my second form, my Mentos vending machine form, and we will shoot down the fiery frog king with our fizzy soda stream.
I guess the idea ends up being that they like spray it into his eyes, which I'm not sure how you have that good of aim with soda and Mentos, but you know what? Fine enough, I guess. And it is an instance of strategy, however dubious of a
I'd
plan
gladly
it
take
is.
that as opposed to just shooting the biggest fireball or cutting the best sword.
Yeah.
It's a little like fun and charming and creative.
Yeah, see, if this show like sold its tone, because what I imagine this show is going for, aside from just being a generic isekai, is to be sort of like a tongue-in-cheek one. And if it sold that atmosphere better, this like I wouldn't even question it. Oh, of course you spray it with Coke and Mentos. Why wouldn't you? Makes complete sense. But because its tone isn't really sold properly, there's a part of my brain that's like, come on, man, like if the goal is to get it in his eyes, that's kind of a weird strategy. If the goal is to put out the fire, you could just like throw it at him and hope
I kind
the
of
bottle
wished that
breaks.
they got a little more creative with the application of the soda. Like instead of just shooting it out of the bottle, like you could realistically do in real life. I would like add just like a pinch of magic. Maybe instead of dropping bottles, you drop some cans, and then you shake up the cans, you drop the Mentos in, and then you throw them at the frog, and they turn into like magic soda bombs. And they and
Yeah,
they
that
and
would be a lot cooler,
and they
and
yeah,
it
they
could be a way
splash
of
onto his eyes,
introducing
splash
us
onto his
to the
fire.
magic system, maybe.
Yeah, and now you have like sticky soda bombs as like a weapon that Boxo can use.
And now we like have learned more about the world and learned more about the applications of magical items. And so, yeah, that would be cool, but nah. But even more than that, what makes me a little dubious about this scene is that okay, so it's a combination of two elements. First of all, that frog is so slow. That frog is like literally between like the tortoise from the tortoise and the hare and him. The tortoise is winning. He's like lapping that frog. It is like crawling forward at a snail's pace, and they're and the idea is that like, oh, the frog's about to catch up to us. It's coming any minute. And then they spend like an entire like 2 minutes going like, how do Coke and Mentos work? And I get that that's like a thing in anime that they take way too long talking compared to what it should be in the actual real time of the fight. But this was that to like an almost comical degree of just the frog. Oh, the frog's coming. It's leaping forward. Oh, it took another leap forward. Okay, now let's have another minute long conversation. Oh no, it leaped forward again. Oh no, what are we gonna do? But then directly after, all right, so we spray the soda in the frog's eyes that we know is slow as shit. And then immediately after, everyone else just comes in to save him. And my thought is, it was not necessary to spray him with Coke and Mentos. You could have just kept on running. That thing is, if you had just, because mind you, they have completely stopped in order to strategize on how to defeat this frog. They are motionless. And so if you just had some motion, however little, you would have been in time. I mean, the people would have saved you. You wouldn't even had to lift a finger. So it felt so. It made the fight feel pointless. I guess is what I'm getting at. Is no, it felt like there was no reason for all this strategy of the Coke and Mentos to happen because they were just gonna get saved anyway. They
Yeah,
could have just kept running.
I'm not expecting Naruto or Dragon Ball Z tier fights here. I'm just saying make it a little exciting and a little more animated.
Yeah, just have some kind of I don't know, like make them feel not so flaccid. Is what I'm getting at. These fights are really weak, wet farts.
Yeah, the side cast is a bunch of generic isekai personalities. We got like two, oh, I assume brothers who are just like, your sword boys. We got Archer girl who the only thing I remember about her is that she has the trope of the small character that eats a lot and never gets fat, and that's just a trope I always enjoy, no matter what it's in. We got the aloof Kudere witch water mage, and we got the eccentric Captain Man who is a little bit fun.
I mean, granted, most of these are just nobodies who will cease being relevant after this arc, except for the girl who's small and eats a lot. That girl is in the OP. She is relevant. She's the only one you need to pay attention to more
Thank
than likely.
God. If of all the side characters to bring along with the party, I'd bring her, please.
This is completely random, but am I the only one who looked at like okay, so there's this one shot in the OP where the title is sliding across the screen, and that's a normal shot to have in an OP, but it was strangely low res for what like the
I
title. I could
did
see
kind
the
of notice
pixels in the
that.
title.
I thought it was my player at first, but then it was like
See,
I
I thought that too, but
the more I looked
I
at it, I was like, no, it just looks like
yeah.
they're using like a 720p render instead of like a full HD one.
Yeah, they took like a 720p render, but it's like a very tiny part of it, and so they had like, well, it's the type of editing that I would do in Sony Vegas, and you do not want to get that vibe from an actual
Television
professionally made
production.
anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the opening, we this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Bradio funking it up.
Uh, I need to re-listen to it.
Yeah, it's admittedly not their best work. This is far from, a death parade, a Flyers death parade. But
I don't
it's
remember
alright.
hating it. The visuals are, of course,
Uninspired.
boring, but well, yeah. What did you expect? I mean, come on.
And
Everything
I
about
would have
this
thought
show is
if you had some
uninspired.
star power like Bradio, maybe they'd put in like a little more effort. But I guess that's my fault for having somewhat high expectations.
I mean, we're watching Peak. How can you not get your expectations
Exactly.
up?
You can't fault me. The ED is nothing special at all. It's just a bunch of still. It's a slideshow ED. It's one of those cozy.
I mean, the character outlines are pink. There you go. That's the unique visual thing of this ED, and that's the end of it. That's where the creativity begins and ends.
Although I will say the very best part of this episode was the next time teaser. We got the bath episode next week, boys.
I noticed that immediately, and I was like, "Who boy? We okay? We're Peak just ascended."
Yeah, we're in episode 3, and we already had to hit the in case of boring show break glass to bust out the beach/bath episode.
Now the question is, how much of episode 3 will be still and lifeless panning shots over the main characters' bodies? We need to get a prediction right now. What like percentage of the runtime will be just that?
Okay. If I were a betting man, given the type of show this is, I want to wager 10 minutes. We are going to get a 10-minute, not a full 50%, but bordering on 50% of the time. It's going to be of the girls in the bath or in various states of undress. Like we saw in the next time, Lambus was out of the bath, presumably wrapped in a towel, drinking a milk out of Boxo. So she is naked drinking Boxo's milk. So that's a win for the Boxo X Lambus shippers.
You heard it here first, folks. Our R34 artists, get your pens out now, pronto.
Oh, we didn't check.
Need your service.
We didn't check to see if Vending Machine Isekai got any hits for on Rule 34 yet.
Okay, quick. Going to. I'm typing this in right now.
It's imperative that we know this information.
Vending Machine Isekai.
Boxo Rule 34. Yeah, it comes up for OXXO, but I'm not gonna click on that out of fear. What if I try
Boxo?
Lamus?
What about Lamus?
There's one.
There's one of Lamus. Let's go.
How is there a date on it? July 6th, 1 week ago, I think. Yeah, that's the earliest I can find. We did it, boys. We did it, Reddit.
But the thing is, it's only a half win so far because there is not a vending machine.
Yeah, we did. We gotta get Boxo in on this action. We need Boxo and X Lamus. I don't know how it's gonna work, but just make it work. I don't know if you gotta give Boxo a fucking metal dick. I don't know if it also has to be in rectangular form. But you know what? It just make it happen, artists. You've made weirder.
And with that, I think that's about it for this episode. There's not really much else to say.
Yeah, no, just nothing but to clutch the Todgers in anticipation of the full mass that will be flying next week.
Yeah, hopefully the show picks up from here. Hopefully we have. I mean, I say hopefully. I'm losing hope, man, and I didn't even have much to begin with.
If we get to a new floor, like the interest of how engaging the show will be is entirely riding on how soon we can get to a new floor of the dungeon and how different that floor is from the one we are currently on, which is just like a lakeside grotto or whatever the fuck.
I just hope this show, like, we go from generic isekai lands to like no game no life lands immediately on the second floor, and then the third floor is like I don't know, something mind.
Oh man, you want to talk about having high expectations?
That's not an expectation. That's my wishful thinking that will never come true. If we're talking about expectations, I imagine that the next floor will be just as boring as this one.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to have a little more faith in Peak. And we'll see y'all next week.
You know, every series at the end of